Shabbat Shalom. In this week's parsha, Parshat Mishpatim, we start looking at the different laws that are incredibly important to the functioning of society. The Parshat of Mishpatim is actually an expansion and explanation of the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments are the topic here, the subject headings. Parshat Mishpatim goes into the details. And in one of the fascinating details we have, it relates to the law of slavery. The Torah understood that there were going to be slaves, and educated us in what a slave was to look like, the rights of the slaves, which were completely antithetical and opposite to what they had experienced in Egypt. The law was that if you had a slave, 6 years they could work for you, but in the 7th year you had to send them free. These slaves were monetary slaves. They had become indebted. There was a feeling in the Torah that you have to rehabilitate a person, allow them to get back on their feet and back into the community. The Torah then makes a fascinating comment and says like this: if the slave at the end of the 6 years decides, I do not want to leave my master, I'm enjoying it too much here, things are taken care of for me, I don't think I can do it by myself, the law was, you take the slave, place their ear against the door by the mezuzah, and give them an earring. Cut a hole in the ear and make an earring. The purpose of that earring was a reminder that this person is now going to be a slave until the Jubilee year. And the question is, why did they use the ear? Why the ear, not something else? And the rabbis explain like this: when God takes us out of Egypt, He frees us from slavery, from human slavery, slavers. You are a free people, says the Torah. And you want to go back to being indentured, being a slave to somebody else? You haven't heard the message that you are free. And therefore, as a permanent reminder, they bore a hole in the earlobe. Now you might read the story and think to yourself, slavery, long time ago, we don't have that situation today. But is that really true? Why was the ear being targeted? Because the message that was being sent only got to the ear, never got into the heart. And this raises a question about how we function within the world around us. Because we are being constantly bombarded with messages and information all the time. And the ear acts as a filter. It blocks out the noise, but it also prevents the penetration of important ideas into our hearts. And thus the Torah says, hit the ear. Make it realize that it's making a terrible mistake over here of not getting the message through that you are a free person. Why do you want to remain enslaved to somebody else? And the question then becomes for every one of us is, how are we living our lives? Are we also in a situation of that slave? We work for our boss. We feel comfortable in our job. Things are taken care of. Erich Fromm wrote a very powerful book trying to understand Germany during the period of the Nazis. And he wrote a book called Escape from Freedom. He said people don't want the freedom. It's too scary for them. It's much easier being told what to do, what to think, than to be free. People become enslaved because it is easier. And when we think about Judaism, what do we find? We find that Judaism is a religion that is constantly on your back. There's always something to do. You're never able to rest. There's always another mitzvah to do, another pasuk to a verse to learn. There's always something to do. Why? Because we don't want you to be enslaved to the world around you. We want you to push back against the values that you are being bombarded with. Stand up to be counted. Don't become squashed and enslaved to the groupthink and the mindlessness that is pervading and surrounding us. And so our slave is told, we understand the situation. You got into trouble. You have to work off your debt. The debt is now paid. Now get back on your feet. And if you can't get it, there's going to be a continuous reminder to you that this ear is not hearing what life is all about. It's not about working for others, being slave to others, being slave to your job. It's about finding that freedom. But for some, freedom is too scary. And so the Torah opens up by the story of Exodus, of God freeing the people from slavery, bringing them to the mountain, providing them with a new system which will elevate them on every single level, to be masters of their own destiny, being masters of their own lives. But not everyone was able to do it. And the question we have to ask ourselves is, are we free, or are our ears causing us to remain spectators of life and enslaved to the pervading culture? Much to think about. Shabbat Shalom. Hi, this is Rabbi Lewin. If you've enjoyed the content of the sermons and the ideas that have been expressed in the YouTube video, please hit that first subscription button and notification bell, and share the videos with friends. We'd love to grow the channel and love to engage with you. Please share your comments in the section below. I'd love to hear from you. Have an amazing day.